Hey, what's up, Cashflow hackers? It's Chris with Life 180, and I'm back here for video 2 of the Whole Life Insurance Masterclass. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about the hierarchy of financial needs. Now, the reason I created this hierarchy of financial needs is because, remember, last video, one of the things that I pointed to as a big problem was financial structure. A lot of people go, well, what the heck does that even mean? In this video, I'm going to go through, and you can see behind me, I have it here, and I'm just going to share it. We'll go through this, and we'll talk about what does structuring your life properly financially even mean? Well, first and foremost, if you see here, it's like a pyramid, and this is kind of inspired by Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? And the idea is, if we're talking about our financial hierarchy of needs to be successful and reach kind of that full actualization, and to me, the full actualization is when we have this legacy and we pass what we've learn, not just our financial resources, but our intellectual capacity, our intellectual property that we are able to pass generationally. One of the things that when you look at like the Rockefeller family, one of the reasons that the Rockefeller family has become and remained one of the richest families in the world is because of the fact that they had these systems and they had legacy. They began with the end in mind, like I talked about in the last video, whereas the Vanderbilt family, which Cornelius Vanderbilt, even to this day, is still historically on an inflation-adjusted basis, the richest man in the history of the world, yet his family, 4 generations after his death, barely had anything left of the wealth that he created, right? So when we think about that, that's really, really important to consider. So let's talk about this at the very basic level. Our basic need, people's greatest need financially, is more cash flow, right? We need that more cash flow for food, for housing, transportation, daily expenses. This is the lifestyle stuff. People's greatest need, especially in a world where we're living paycheck to paycheck, is to increase their cash flow capacity, their earning capacity, because without that, then it doesn't really matter. Like, it's hard for me to start getting you to think abundantly, right? Thinking about legacy if you're just worried about how are you gonna put food on the table. So I don't know where you are on this hierarchy. People are gonna be at different stages, and that's okay. But what I do know is that if you are feeling like you are in this level where you're like, wow, I barely even have enough money to do this. I'm living paycheck to paycheck. I'm kind of hand to mouth on everything that I'm doing. I'm in debt. I'm buried by this debt. I got some toxic debt. It's a bit suffocating. It's overwhelming. I don't know what to do about it. I will tell you that we have a whole program. Once again, not a sales pitch. I'm just letting you know. We have programs that help people eliminate debt, build their credit score, increase cash flow, increase financial efficiency, because this is the important part of knowing exactly what you need to do to accomplish the life that you want to live. Now, once you have your cash flow set up, and this is unfortunately, this is where people miss this foundational, right? I would say that this is like, let's just say this green line here is ground, right? Like we're building a house. Well, on top of this is the house, right? This pyramid above the house is above the ground is the house. This is the sub foundation, right? Under here, this is the sub foundation underground. This is what you got to build everything on. You've got to have the cash flow set up. If you don't have cash flow the way that you need to do it to have your basic needs taken care of, you're going to have a real challenging time thinking abundantly. And don't think I missed that, right? Like as we go through this, no matter where you are, that's something. And I've seen people that make $250,000 a year but still not have enough cash flow to meet their basic needs right now. Now, that's a whole different conversation than when we're talking to somebody that's making $50,000 a year that's not meeting their basic needs, because there's typically some behavioral issues, relationship with money issues that need to be addressed, and we go from there. Now, structurally speaking, once we have the cash flow built, now what we do is we have to build this financial safety pillar of our pyramid, right? Now, the financial safety means we got to have our emergency fund, and we have our insurances set up, right? We gotta have our life insurance, we gotta have our property casualty, our home insurance, our auto insurance, umbrella coverages, depending on your level of net worth and all these different things. But this has to be in place, right? The sad truth here is 74% of Americans don't have 2 months of income in savings to cover emergencies. This is a disgusting statistic. And this means most people, once again, are paycheck to paycheck, month to month. If they lost their job, they'd be in a rough spot. Now, what I'm gonna do in the next video, we're gonna talk about what does an emergency fund need to cover. A lot of people say you need 6 months. Well, I'm gonna challenge that thought process. And once again, I'm not gonna tell you what the answer is. I'm gonna ask you to think critically for yourself to figure out and determine what does your emergency fund need to look like for your life. It's not about me and my opinion. I don't believe there should be cookie cutter solutions to your financial problem, to your financial goals, to your financial challenges. The question is, are you who you need to be to live the life that you want to live? And the reality is you're going to have to stretch and grow into that. Once you have this financial safety completed and you've got that built, now and only then are we able to start thinking about accumulating wealth, right? As we start thinking about accumulating wealth, this is the challenge. Most people think about this and they say, well, the younger you are, the more risk you can take. So they skip over financial safety. They put money in a 401k. They think of themselves as saving for retirement, but you're not. You're investing for retirement. The difference between investing and saving is a function of risk. Savings you cannot lose. Savings are guaranteed. Investments you can lose. So when you start trying to accumulate wealth and invest before saving, what happens is you have no financial security. And so what happens is when you try to accumulate wealth, you're not really an investor, you're a speculator. That's what you're doing. So as we hit our financial safety and we get into the accumulation phase, now this is when we're gonna pay down our debt and really optimize that. We're gonna build our opportunity fund to be able to look for investment opportunities that are out there in the marketplace. We're gonna invest in cash flow producing assets. This is the key. This investing in cash flow producing assets is the key to 4x faster results. This is everything, because when you invest for cash flow, we invest in assets that get us tax benefits, tax deductions, not just tax deferrals like 401ks. It gets us inflation hedges, it gets us a cash flow, we can compound that cash flow, and I'm gonna get into all that. And then if we do this enough, right, and we compound this cash flow and we let this process take out, what will happen is you, within 10 to 15 years, will reach financial freedom. Financial freedom, simply put, is the fact that you're going to have enough passive cash flow to cover your expenses, your lifestyle, your long-term care, children's education needs, all of the different needs that you're going to have in retirement, and you're going to be just much more prepared. When you have that and you have the cash flow to cover that, why does retirement have to be at age 65? I don't know about you, but I'm 44, and I am putting myself in a position so I don't want to have to work till I'm 65. Heck, I don't want to work if I don't want to work. Luckily for me, I love what I do and I teach what I love, and to me, this is passion, right? So what would it feel like to you if you were work optional, right? Like me at this point in time. If you could just show up to work or do something that you loved, if you had enough cash flow coming in that could cover your lifestyle and expenses, how much more fulfilling could life be if you could just show up and do work that you loved every single day and you didn't have to go in, punch a clock, give up your life. Maybe you spend time with your grandkids or your family or your friends, and you traveled and you got to maybe work on a passion project because you could afford to, and you had the time and you had the money and you had the freedom to be able to do so. That's what this is all about. I feel like if people focused on actually having the cash flow to do that and stop thinking about trying to just get and grind through life to hopefully have enough money at 65 to be able to stop working, that's a depressive way to live life, in my opinion, and I encourage everybody to think outside the box. Once again, the sad part is, the reality is 95% of people are hitting retirement without enough money to maintain their standard of living. But just this number alone, 29% of people over 50 feel underprepared. But this is a delusional number. 29% of people over 50 feel underprepared. 95% of people are hitting retirement and not able to maintain their standard of living. This shows the level of delusion and lack of understanding around personal finances that most people have. That's just the reality. Once you do this and you have the financial freedom and you've been able to build all that, that's when we start thinking about legacy. Now, once again, I believe we need to start with the end in mind. Start thinking about what is our legacy that we want to leave? What are we trying to teach our kids? What are we trying to teach our grandkids? I don't know what you believe spiritually or not, and this isn't a spiritual, I'm not trying to shove spirituality down anybody's throat by any stretch of the imagination. But in the Bible, it says that we need to be thinking about 3 generations out. Our money, our resources, we should have a strategy that impacts 3 generations. By the way, I call that legacy, right? What are you doing thinking about your business, whether you're an entrepreneur, real estate investor, whatever, business estate planning, succession planning? What are you doing for taxes to make sure that you're keeping most of your money, it's going to your family and not going to the government? These sorts of things. This is what I call financial structure. And most people start right here at accumulating wealth. They don't focus on their emergency funds and insurances, and they don't focus on making sure they got their financial foundation of cash flow set up first. And if you don't build, if you try to skimp And if you don't build this bottom part of your foundation structurally, then it doesn't matter how much wealth you think you're accumulating. A lot of people have lost decades feeling like they're doing really well, only to have it get taken right out from under them, like carpet getting swept right out from under them. So when we look at it that way, and we look at the hierarchy of financial needs, I really encourage you to think about it in these terms and think about what can you do structurally? What are your values and beliefs in regards to this? What are your values and beliefs about what you need to do to accomplish the life that you want to live? Now, I'm also going to include a worksheet here. If you want to go down and get the worksheet and take it, it's a values and beliefs workbook. You don't have to do this. I would really encourage everybody to do this because of the fact that while it's going to take you 2 to 3 hours to actually complete it, it's 13 or 14 pages. It's going to stretch you and get you to think about things in ways that you probably have never thought about. But to me, what's more important than doing this? I mean, this is some of the most important stuff that we're going to do in life. So I really encourage you, as you start thinking about your financial structure and what you need to do for your financial structure to be able to accomplish the life that you want to accomplish, you might as well take the time and do it to figure out who do you need to become to create the life that you want to live. That's what it comes down to. So hopefully you found value in this one. In the next video, we're going to dive even deeper. So hope to see you there. Have a blessed and inspirational day. We'll see you there.